Hello, fellow book nerds. Let's talk about all the books I read in May. There was actually a grand total of 10 books I read in May. I feel like I'm back. I was having a bit of a slump in May. I mean, it was still 8 books, but still, I managed to just pull it out of nowhere because today is the 31st of May, and I finished 2 books today. So I feel like I'm on 9th cloud, whatever, feeling great about my reading, and actually I read a lot of good books, I think, so I'm very excited to talk about them. Let's just jump in. So let's kick off with 3 books I read for reading vlogs, so if you wanna learn more about my opinion of them, you can always check out that vlog. But these 3 books are A Hero Born, Diary of a Murderer, and Memory Police. So the theme of the vlog was translated books, and the subgenre of the vlog was East Asian authors. So I read all kinds of books from East Asian authors that were translated, so originally they were not written in English. And let's start with A Diary of a Murder. This was by a South Korean author, so originally it was in Korean. This is a short story collection, adult thriller, mystery kind of thing. There's one really big story that spans about half of the book, and the rest of the book is smaller stories. And the main story is about a serial killer who has given up killing, like he's retired, but he decides to have one last kill because he doesn't trust his daughter's boyfriend and he thinks that he's dodgy, so he's thinking about coming out of retirement. It was a very interesting collection. I didn't realize it was a short story collection until I finished that first collection. There was still half of a book left and I was like, oh, that's weird, we're switching perspective so much, and then realized it was a short story collection. It was definitely interesting. I liked all of the stories pretty much, maybe some more than the others. I did find the titular story the most interesting because it just had so much depth to it, and I really liked how it was handled, because also the serial killer has Alzheimer's disease or dementia and he's losing his memory, so it had a very interesting, like, twisty turny kind of a thing going on. I ended up giving it 3.5 stars, and I think it's a very good read if you're into kind of like short story collections or just like some weird, like, intense stories, a lot to do with death and abuse and gore, that kind of thing. So I would quite recommend this one. Actually, I did enjoy it. The second book I read was The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa. So this one was translated from Japanese, and this one we follow this island and a society where once in a while something gets erased from memory of the people. So the object itself doesn't disappear, but people's memories attached to it and people's emotions attached to it, anything like that disappears, and they don't really know the purpose of the thing anymore. And there's this group called the Memory Police who enforce the disappearances and make sure that everyone forgets and abandons these objects, because there are certain people that don't get their memory erased and they get prosecuted and like taken away and that kind of thing. This was interesting because I had really high expectations, because I was expecting it to be more of a thrilling sci-fi kind of thing, and it turned out to be more of a slow, thought-provoking discussion, very surrealistic, and in the end it wasn't what I wanted, but it wasn't bad either. So I think that's where I was a bit conflicted and want to give it. If you wanted to like learn all of my thoughts, complicated thoughts on this book, you can check out the vlog. I ended up giving it 3 stars, and I don't know if I'd recommend it. Depends what is your thing, because this may be not necessarily my thing. Next, I read A Hero Born. So this is originally written in Mandarin. This was pitched as like Chinese Lord of the Rings, because this series is a high fantasy series. I think it's adult actually, and it's existed for like years and years and is really darling to people in China, but it's never been translated until now. And this is a wuxia fantasy, which means like a martial arts fantasy, and we follow a monk who ends up coming into this contest of putting together 2 people and bringing them up into great warriors. I feel like that doesn't give it justice, but the plot is a little bit complicated because it takes place over so many years. So just this first book, I think it's at least 17 years that we see spanned, and the whole series, it starts at the before Genghis Khan became Genghis Khan. He exists, but he's not yet the historical figure he'll become, and it goes all the way to his grandchild child, I think. So it's like spans over very many years. I love this one. I was so surprised. I ended up really liking it. It was really different than what I'm used to. It did definitely have a big focus on martial arts. It was all about the fighting. There was fight scenes every other page. If you like characters, this does not focus on the characters. It's more about the themes of honor and the fighter's way and all that kind of thing, rather than like individual characters. The characters are just there to like be puppets in this world. But I did really enjoy it. Thought it was really well written. The translation was incredibly interesting, and altogether I really enjoyed it, and I just appreciated how different it was than everything I'm used to. And I definitely want to finish up the series because Chef's Kiss, really good. Ended up giving it 4.5 stars, just because maybe 4 stars is not quite my thing, not something I'd pick up just purely that kind of book, but because it was very well technically done and I was really engaged when reading it, and I'll keep thinking about it because it just had so many interesting themes. So really liked it. Definitely my favorite from that vlog. Next up, I read Mermaid's Moon, which is a high fantasy, I guess. It's a fantasy novel, YA, and we follow a mermaid whose mother was a human, and all of the memory of her mother was erased from her tribe, so she decides to go to land to find her mother. It's a story full of magic, and overall I didn't end up enjoying it too much. I just could not find myself caring for anything that happened, any of the characters. I thought it dragged, and it was just so weird. And it's weird because I don't have any concrete criticism that can be like, yeah, that was wrong with it. I just felt nothing listening to it. I did not care about any of the characters. I just thought maybe as a short story this would have been better, but it didn't tickle my fancy or whatever. That's why I give it 2.5 stars. I feel bad because I feel like when I give something negative rating, I would want more things to criticize and to talk about to justify myself. But I don't know, it just wasn't for me. I didn't enjoy it, and I'm nothing that blew me away by any means. Next up, I listened to An Ember in the Ashes. So this book I read as a part of the Ember in the Ashes Along, I think it's called. It's a read along going on. If you want, you can check out their Twitter, but they're reading one book a month, and I decided to read this one. I have also planned a video for it, so I am not gonna talk to you too much about it, but I loved it. I gave it 5 stars, and I think it was very well written. Ember in the Ashes, we follow a girl whose family is killed, and she has to go in undercover to the training grounds where the killers were like made in order to be a spy for the resistance. Again, saving my thoughts for that video that's coming sometime soon. Let's hope. I did really like it. Next book I read was The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. This book, again, it's for a video and the video's coming, but safe to say, I love this book. This book follows Linus, who's a caseworker for the Department of Magical Creatures. So in this world, the magical creatures live alongside humans, and he is the caseworker responsible for like going into orphanages where there are magical children and making sure that everything's up to scratch. And one day he gets a case that's just gonna change his life forever. I love this book. It's an adult fantasy, but it just feels so whimsical, magical, and wonderful that I would say everyone has to read it no matter their age. And I just really love this one. Gave it 5 stars. As good as everyone said it was. Next up I read The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. So this book is an adult high fantasy inspired by Vikings. It's from the author of Malice series, which I have not read. And it's about a world where the gods have fought, the gods are all dead, and it's kind of repercussions of that. And in this world there are people who are half gods, who are born from these gods, maybe not half but like quarter, whatever, and they're descendants from the gods. And it's a very complicated Viking world. I have a dedicated review where I go into details about themes, plot, characters, all of that. It came up recently, so if you want to check it out, it's up above. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really well written. The world was super interesting, and it had a lot of strong female characters in the best sense possible, so I really liked that aspect of it. I ended up giving it 4 stars, and it's definitely worth a read if this is your cup of tea, and I really recommend it actually, and I am so happy I got to talk talk about it in that review, and I don't know if I would have picked it up otherwise, but it was really, really worth the time. Next up we have Dreams of Gods and Monsters, which is the last book in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy by Laini Taylor. The first book talks about Karou, who lives in Prague and has friends, goes to art school, all of the good things. Her secret family are made up of chimera, which are like humanoid / animalistic creatures, and she has this whole secret life beyond her normal life. I love this series. I am hosting a read along for it. Actually, today is the live show, the day that I'm recording it, not the day I'm posting it, but the live show's happening and I'm really excited for the discussion. I really enjoyed this book. I already read it once, so this is a reread for me. It ended up being 4.5 stars. I think Laini Taylor is an amazing writer, just so wonderful. Her world are so complex. My only complaint would be the ending of the series, which just teased such a big thing happening, and it just ended then, and I was like, felt a bit cheated, you know, either don't introduce it or explore it. And don't introduce it in the last chapter, I don't know. That was my only complaint, but otherwise this book was just so good. Then today I finished A Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. So this book is a YA mystery novel. I got this as a gift from Hanan, so thank you Hanan so much. But I don't know, she knew that I craved a thriller, so whenever I finish all my books early so I could pick up a thriller, so I decided to pick this one up. I've been really dying to read it because I only ever hear good things about it. Justified, totally justified. So in this book we follow Pippa, who lives in a small town, and 5 years ago in this town there was a murder. Girl went missing and presumed murdered, and they think that her boyfriend did it because he committed suicide and left a note saying that he killed her. Pippa doesn't believe that it was Sal, the boyfriend, and she wants to use her school project to prove that he did not do it and find the real murderer. I like this book so much, and there are a lot of things I really liked about it specifically. So let me try to articulate myself smartly. I feel like already with that sentence I failed, but whatever. So I really liked Pippa, and I am so surprised because a lot of the times I really don't like the teenage detective characters. I find them incredibly annoying. What I think about teenage detectives, they're usually like the girl from Truly Devious, the protagonist there, and that's like entitled, thinks they're literally better than anyone else, so focused on the story, like so rude and never thoughtful about anyone else's feelings. And Pippa, even throughout the whole investigation, she was like a real person. She was actually like apologetic if she did something wrong. She respected people that she talked to, which I don't think is common in these teenage mystery novels. I don't know, she like apologized if she overstepped. She thought through other people's feelings, not just herself. She wasn't the kind that would do anything for the investigation, no matter whether it put other people, which again, a lot of these teenage mystery detectives are, and I think they just feel so entitled, while Pippa felt like a real person, and people that she interviewed as well, they felt like real people. I don't know, being polite. I don't know if it's because it's set in Britain or what, but it just was a totally different vibe. I think this was way superior in terms of the protagonist, and that made me not mad at the protagonist. I really liked how the mystery was done. I just felt like every step of the way I was there with Pippa. I was discovering things, I was finding clues. It was all written out so clearly that it made it really nice and easy. She always talked through her thinking and her like process that she went through so that you really understood where she was coming from. I didn't feel like there were any like jumps out of the left field. All of a sudden they know the answer even though there was no clues for it. That's not what I felt. I felt like she really walked us through it. Everything made sense. There were no logical jumps. Really solid mystery that I was so engaged in. Actually, it has a sequel and a third book, and I actually think it's gonna go way better than Truly Devious, which I said should not have had sequels because that book had like sequels but it was the same case. In this instance, the case is closed, we know the mystery, we've wrapped it up, and I think we're just gonna follow the character of Pippa. and I totally love that because I love Pippa. So yeah, this book was really good. I gave it 4.5 stars, and I think if you want a solid mystery and you're feeling maybe like YA isn't always for you, but this one I think is different and you should totally check it out. Okay, my camera's getting hot, so let's go through the last book. The last book is The Fate of Stars by S.D. Simper, which is a sapphic fantasy novel with mermaids. So I'm on the kick of reading mermaid books and I cannot find one I like. And this one is actually not that bad. I quite enjoyed it. So in this one we follow our main girl, mermaid girl, who gets kidnapped by a princess and taken to the kingdom to be like paraded basically as an exotic animal, and she ends up falling in love with the princess, and it's like a whole struggle for power. It's really good. I thought it was standalone. It has it's a whole trilogy. I don't know if it'll continue, but I enjoyed what I read. I thought the romance was really good. I thought the fantasy aspects of it were quite nice. The only thing I didn't like was how characters spoke, because sometimes it just felt so petulant, like children. I don't know. Yeah, the romance was really cute and it was really steamy as well. So I think this is an adult book actually, and I think it might be either indie publishing or self-published, I'm not sure. And it's connected to some other series by that author, but you don't have to read them, I don't think. Yeah, likable characters, really good romance. It is a fantasy romance, that's pretty much all I have to say. Like, plot wasn't anything crazy, but I liked seeing them fall in love with each other and I thought it was cute. So if you're looking for a sapphic romance, there you go. I would actually quite recommend this one. Even for a mermaid book as well, it was quite good. Better than most I read this month or last month or whatever, how many months I've been reading them. Okay, we're here. I'm sorry if I sped through that. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you read in May and what was your favorite book that you read in May. I am really curious to hear from you. I just want to say thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like the video, if you could comment, like and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it, as it helps me out a lot. But that's it from me, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.